suffering is an inevitable part of our life, whether the agony is emotional or physical from interpersonal issues, loss, and money troubles. Since accepting suffering is the first step toward learning and development, we must come to terms with this reality. We cannot genuinely grow if we reject it or attempt to run away from it. According to Aristotle, pain prevents humans from truly learning even the most basic skills, like learning how to write, read, and calculate. Must overcome obstacles. Consistent practice. This demonstrates how crucial pain is to learning. The story of the businessman who lost everything due to a poor choice serves as a wonderful illustration of how one can learn from pain. Before starting over, he has to confront his pain and failure. He realized after this occurrence how crucial failure is to learning and progress. This is consistent with dukkha, the first of the Four Noble Truths stated by the Buddha. 1. Dukkha, embrace suffering. It is an inherent fact of life to suffer. Despite our best efforts to ignore it or remove ourselves from it, pain continues to be a part of every aspect of our existence. Whether it be from emotional pain like loss, separation, disappointment, and unmet desires, or physical suffering like illness, old age, and death. Buddha's concept of dukkha goes beyond the literal meaning of suffering. Dissatisfaction with all aspects of existence is also included, though. Despite our perceptions of happiness, we might only experience temporary joy, which will inevitably shift over time. Things change constantly in life, because the sense of accomplishment that results from achieving your goals is what creates concealed suffering. Happiness is not sustainable, though, as we discover when faced with change. Happiness derived from material assets is a straightforward example. When we'll be able to afford a new automobile or a large house, we can think that we are bursting with joy. But with time, the thrill and contentment that had previously been felt started to fade. The joy that these belongings bring does not continue forever, and sadness will come after if such things are misplaced or broken. Even when we believe we are joyful, this is still true. Pain might still be concealed. One more example of misery in real life. We have a propensity to hold on to our expectations, whether they are demands of you or others. We assume things will always remain the same. We shall go through life as we like, even succeeding in our careers, being loved and accepted by everyone around you, or having a wonderful family life. Yet disappointment and pain set in when life doesn't measure up to such expectations. Uncertainty and uncontrollable changes, such as the death of a loved one or a split, can also be signs of suffering. Alterations to one's profession or other aspects of life. We suffer from these things because we are powerless to stop them from occurring. Embracing suffering is the first step toward development. Buddhism teaches us many valuable teachings, one of which is to accept suffering. Acknowledging the existence of suffering enables us to approach it with awareness. Additionally, don't disregard it or flee from it. When you encounter suffering, recognize suffering, remarked the Buddha. Recognizing and comprehending suffering entails embracing our feelings without suppressing them. Instead, it is a recognition that pain is a normal aspect of existence. Suffering does not have to win, even if we accept it or surrender our lives to it. However, it necessitates beginning with the knowledge that suffering is unavoidable. The basis for learning how to deal with and get through it will be this understanding. Many psychiatrists also contend that building mental strength requires being honest about pain and facing it head-on. For instance, a businessman experiences failure. You can feel disoriented and anxious. However, if he concedes that the situation is as it is, don't hold yourself or others accountable. Armed with the knowledge he has gained from his experience, he will be able to move past that suffering and begin again. Also, accepting suffering offers us a chance to gain insight into life's uncertainties. At midday, when we realize that everything in life is temporary, we won't become overly invested in either bliss or misery. We'll be able to deal with change mindfully by being adaptable and flexible. In the end, suffering is not something we should avoid. However, we may grow and learn from it. Realizing that pain is a necessary component of existence, it's the first step toward getting ready to comprehend and get past it. Leads to mental tranquility and a deeper comprehension of reality. 2. Samudaya, analyze what causes misery. Analyzing and determining the causes of suffering is the next stage in the Four Noble Truths, which we take once we start to comprehend and accept suffering in our lives. It is referred to as samudaya in Buddhism, meaning the source of sorrow. Suffering is not the result of random events. If the causes and contributing elements are things we produce, the Buddha's core teachings are as follows. Tanha, or unending yearning, attachment and craving, is the source of suffering. Tanha, the origin of all misery. In the Samudaya language, tanha refers to more than simply basic physical needs like hunger or material demands, but also the secret impulses that one holds, the aspiration for achievement, the hope, and the longing for possession, or even trying to find happiness elsewhere. Three primary forms of tanha exist. 1. Kama tanha, the desire for sensually pleasing objects or experiences. Whatever it may be, fame, wealth, delicious food, affectionate touch, or anything else that provides us with worldly satisfaction. 2. Bhava tanha, the need for existence, self-identification, or social approval, the urge to fit in or the need for prestige and authority in society. 3. Vibhava tanha, the wish to be nothing, or refuse to confront anything. It is an urge to run away from pain or reality, such as not wanting to get sick, not wanting to fall short, unwilling to accept failure. Attachment and expectation. Samudaya, or the reason behind this misery, it also entails holding on to different life expectations. We cling to our belief that everything in life should go as planned. We will be unhappy and disappointed if we don't. One such expectation is that marriages will be perfect, or desiring that people treat us the way we believe they ought to. Overly high expectations strain both you and others around you. It makes daily living more stressful and conflicted. A businessman could be obsessed with achieving both social acceptance and financial success. He puts a lot of pressure on himself to reach his lofty goals. He could be deeply dissatisfied and blame himself if the company loses money or fails. Alternatively, they could get irritable and vent their frustrations on people nearby. Unreasonable attachments and expectations are instances of samudaya that result in ongoing anguish. Chasing happiness elsewhere. Samudaya covers another source of sorrow. It's looking for enjoyment in other sources, such as comparing oneself to others or wishing for a better existence. Happiness is sometimes seen as the result of obtaining material goods or achieving external achievement, like landing a new job, having a better-looking house, or living a life that society deems ideal. However, in actuality, the enjoyment we experience after receiving those items is fleeting. Our desires keep growing until you're at a loss for words. This never-ending craving is comparable to an unfillable deep the darkness. We look outside of ourselves for happiness. However, what I got made me suffer. When we lose what we once had, or when we are unable to meet those needs, this kind of clinging to happiness outside of ourselves prevents us from discovering actual happiness within. Ignorance of the essence of life. Another samudaya-related problem. It's not realizing that life is transient in nature, eternity, and dukkha, pain. Many times we think that if we achieve our goals, life will be abundant and pain-free. But in actuality, everything has changed. Nothing ever remains the same. Our experiences of happiness are fleeting. Our lack of knowledge or ignorance on the essence of our life produces anguish when those things change, because it forces us to cling to the notion that things are different and will always be with us. This is a case of not comprehending the essence of existence. Is the situation with relationships. We frequently assume that marriage or love will provide us eternal happiness. However, relationships may shift over time. Maybe it's as a result of the person you love going through changes, or outside circumstances beyond our control, believing that a relationship will always remain the same in the end. This leads to strife and pain. Analyzing the causes of suffering. To get past suffering, a samudaya analysis is necessary, or the precise source of distress, understanding the expectations, attachments, and once we have within our hearts is crucial. When we start to recognize and comprehend that suffering does not have an outside source, we will, however, be able to start the editing process inside our heads. The Buddha once said, "The first step toward realizing the ultimate state is understanding suffering when we are able to examine and comprehend the reasons behind suffering. After that, we'll be ready to proceed to the following phase. That is the release from craving and attachment, which leads to the end of pain, Nirodha." 3. Nirodha, discover a means to escape pain. The Four Noble Truths state that Nirodha, or the extinction of suffering, or one's freedom from suffering, is the next stage of our journey once we have completed the processes of accepting suffering, dukkha, and comprehending its causes, samudaya. When we comprehend the cause of our suffering and the reasons behind it, we can start trying to figure something out. In the Buddhist framework, ending suffering does not mean running away from issues. However, it involves accepting reality with compassion and figure out how to break free from painful relationships and wants. Being Nirodha has nothing to do with giving up on anything. However, the goal is to put an end to the cravings that bring about pain by shifting our viewpoints on life to lead tranquil and well-balanced lives. Nirodhi meaning put an end to suffering with comprehension. In its original form, Nirodha refers to the total abolition of suffering, not going back to experiencing discomfort or unhappiness. This represents nirvana or freedom in Buddhism, yet Nirodha may not imply instantaneously obtaining nirvana in the everyday lives of common people. It's a process of discovering how to let go of pain to the degree that we can manage it daily. The Buddha taught that it is possible to put an end to suffering if we learn how to deal with it and place value on letting go of holding on to things, including hopes, aspirations, and ambitions that lead to pain. We can break free from a cycle of pain brought on by desire by letting go of these things. Letting go, the secret to putting an end to pain. Letting go is a crucial step in putting an end to misery. This is not the place to give up everything to let go. It has to do with letting go of things beyond our control and give up hoping that life would unfold the way we have imagined. It is possible to let go by growing in wisdom and mindfulness. When we start to realize that everything in life is temporary and subject to change at any time, we can let go of those things. For instance, after we've experienced a significant loss, such as a split with a loved one, losing our job, or losing property, should we hold to the notion that we have to regain those things, or should life go back to as it was before? We'll suffer, and we won't be able to get over it. However, if we can learn to let go, accept the shift, and discover a means to cope with it, we shall eventually start to triumph over suffering. Self-forgiveness as a road to inner peace. Forgiveness is another step toward putting an end to suffering. Suffering is frequently not caused by outside factors. However, the source of it is our self-criticism or attachment to our previous transgressions. Refusing to forgive ourselves maintains an endless cycle of shame and guilt, which results in ongoing distress. The first step in forgiving yourself is to let go of your negative emotions and allow yourself to make a peaceful start again. For instance, a businessman makes a poor choice and loses everything. They can spend a long time engulfed in guilt. I keep telling myself that I shouldn't do things over and over again. But when he's ready to face his previous mistakes and forgive himself, he'll be able to begin a new life with an open mind and be released from the cycle of pain. Examining issues from a different perspective, altering your perspective to put a stop to pain. Nirodha can also result from shifting one's perspective on an issue or from altering one's mode of thinking. There are times when external circumstances or events do not directly cause misery. It results from holding on to painful ideas or having a pessimistic outlook on the circumstances. We can find relief from suffering if we shift our viewpoint to one of opportunity or learn from our experiences. For instance, a businessman who is unsuccessful in a venture may view failure as a useful lesson that will help the company move forward, rather than believing that failure is the end. Instead, he decided to see it as a chance to improve and learn. They can recover from their sorrow and resume achievement with this shift in viewpoint, using wisdom and awareness to confront challenges. Wisdom and mindfulness are powerful instruments that can help us put an end to our suffering. We can continuously be aware of our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors in the present by engaging in mindfulness practices. Aids in releasing us from the pain of the past or dwell over things that are still missing. Being mindful helps us stay in the here and now, recognize the situation as it is, and be able to react to issues thoughtfully without feeling anything. We may accept suffering and life's changes more readily when we possess wisdom or an understanding of the nature of things, such as the knowledge that everything is temporary and that dukkha, suffering, exists. As soon as we understand the nature of things, we'll develop the ability to let go and put an end to misery automatically. Conclusion: letting go and embracing reality is necessary for putting an end to pain. Nirodha, or the end of suffering, does not imply leaving this life behind. It is about discovering how to let go of suffering-causing attachments and expectations. In the face of sorrow, awareness and insight enable us to see reality and achieve inner serenity, even in the face of difficult situations. 4. Magga, take the route that leads to an end to misery. The Four Noble Truths point to the Noble Eightfold Path Magga as a path or set of guidelines for achieving the end of suffering. The Buddha taught a technique called the Noble Eightfold Path that one must follow to end suffering and achieve peace. The central axis of existence is the Noble Eightfold Path. It includes all facets of life, in voice, conduct, and cognition as well. The Eightfold Path is more than just a theory that needs to be understood. However, it is a useful guideline that aids in our personal and mental transformation. We shall be able to relieve suffering in a way that is sustainable if we follow the route and discovered a means of bringing harmony and balance to life. The 8 components of the path, a structure for the stopping of suffering. The Eightfold Path is a collection of rules that encompass all facets of life and are categorized into 3 primary areas: precepts restraining one's body and speech, mindfulness training the mind to be still and attentive, and wisdom realizing life's realities are as follows. 1. Right view. A proper comprehension of life's realities is the foundation of a right perspective. The subject of the Four Noble Truths, namely, that there is suffering in life, is particularly important. We can better appreciate something's transience when we have the correct perspective. It also enables us to see that suffering results from holding on to those things. Seeing life from a wider angle is another aspect of having the appropriate perspective. Recognizing the relationship between the two, understanding that the things we do determine how happy or unhappy we are. Knowing the law of karma activity helps us realize how important doing good is. Avoid doing evil things and purify your heart. 2. Right intention. Setting right and excellent intentions is true mindfulness. The mind becomes kind and compassionate when it is shaped by appropriate thoughts, and it becomes free from greed or anger. One crucial step in lessening suffering is adopting an optimistic outlook and letting go of attachments to things we are powerless to control. Our activities are guided by good intentions and serve the interests of the others as well as ourselves. We may deal with issues peacefully when we make the intention to live in a way that is full of love and compassion for everything. 3. Right speech. Mindful speech is speaking with awareness and speak politely. It entails speaking the truth without resorting to harsh or divisive language. Speaking with pure intent and in a way that promotes unity is what leads to peaceful coexistence in society. Speaking with kindness and love is another aspect of practicing appropriate speech. Talk originally refrain from saying anything that could upset or harm someone. Since words have great power, proper use of language can enhance positive connections and lessen disputes in day-to-day living. 4. Right action. Action that does not cause harm to oneself or others is considered right. Actions following the 5 precepts, such as avoiding killing animals, stealing, and having affairs outside of marriage. It serves as the cornerstone that enables us to coexist harmoniously in society. Acting morally involves doing nice things as well, practicing ethics in daily life, deciding to do actions that are good for humanity and society. Living a stable, creative, and joyful existence is made possible by practicing moral behavior. 5. Right livelihood. A decent living is earned by performing your work honestly and correctly. Don't mistreat or abuse other people. Choosing a profession that does not injure or damage others, such as not dealing with guns, drugs, or items that degrade people, is another aspect of providing a right livelihood. Having a proper livelihood contributes to mental tranquility. Also, you don't need to worry that your acts will have negative effects. It is also work that has positive effects on the globe and society. 6. Right effort. Right effort is the ongoing pursuit of personal development, making a sincere attempt to avoid evil, grow in kindness, and preserve mental purity. Doing good things with diligence is the practice of diligence in the Dhamma, developing oneself and persevering through difficulties. For us to keep going down the path, perseverance is essential, and advance gradually in the direction of the end of pain. Regular exercise progressively strengthens and calms our minds. 7. Right mindfulness. Being mindful at all times is what it means to be mindful. Being mindful allows us to observe what is going on around us without passing judgment on it, whether it be through thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. This supports our ability to live life with clarity. Developing awareness and focus can also be accomplished through practicing mindfulness. Being aware of our surroundings allows us to maintain self-control and make wise choices. Refrain from letting oneself get carried away by negative feelings. 8. Right concentration. To focus properly, one must train their mind to remain steady and composed. We get less distracted when we meditate, and possess a strong will. Mind calming is not the only benefit of meditation. However, it is also a means of conditioning the mind to be open to the growth of wisdom, realizing life's realities. We can observe our minds through meditation, not affected by distractions or feelings. Inner serenity is something we can get through concentration and create a more balanced lifestyle. Living in Magga every day. We may take control of our minds through meditation, not moved by distractions or feelings. Our ability to focus develops inner tranquility and achieve greater balance in life. Synopsis: applying the Four Noble Truths to learn from and overcome suffering. We cannot escape suffering in this life. However, by comprehending and upholding the Four Noble Truths, which form the core of Buddhist doctrine, one can learn from it. It begins with acknowledging that dukkha exists in the world. We shall start to recognize and comprehend the suffering we endure if we accept this reality. We then need to examine samudaya, or the source of suffering, in great detail. This frequently results from attachment and unsatisfied desire. When we understand why people suffer, we shall be able to practice letting go of attachments and change our attitudes to find a method to free ourselves from it, which is nirodha, the end of suffering. The first step toward achieving liberation is to have a thorough understanding of suffering and its causes. Ultimately, the road that leads to enduring liberation from pain is that of Magga. It contains aspects of living intentionally, self-control over one's body, words, and thoughts. Magga's 8 aspects teach us how to grow wisdom, uphold precepts, and engage in mindfulness practices. By following this path, we can learn to face suffering with awareness, tranquility, and steadiness, a quality that enables us to grow and learn deeply from suffering. To sum up, dealing with suffering with awareness and knowledge, applying the Four Noble Truths to self-reflection and lifestyle modification. It will support us in overcoming adversity and achieving genuine happiness. Additionally, it helps you grow as a person and improve your awareness of life's truths. Ready to transform your suffering into strength? Subscribe to the Awakened Way channel for powerful insights on mindfulness, spiritual growth, and personal transformation. Get inspired to break free from sorrow and discover the path to lasting peace and joy. Don't miss out on our weekly wisdom. Hit the subscribe button and awaken your true potential today.